A pithivier is just a fancy French word for a pie. So that's exactly what I'm going to be making. Beautiful pies that are going to be filled with a decadent mushroom filling. Now, if you know me, you know I love my mushrooms, and this is an absolute showstopper. So let's get on to the base. I'm going to use a combination of some pancetta and leeks. The leeks are going to give us a lovely sweetness and pancetta smokiness. I also like a good amount of butter, so about 15 to 20 grams of butter, and we'll just turn the heat on. I don't want it to be preheated and on a high heat at this stage because I want to render the fat out of the pancetta because that's going to give extra flavour to our mushrooms. So in with the pancetta and the butter along with our leeks. Now this is one large leek and I've just used the white and light green part of it. That's the sweetest part. So it looks like quite a lot, but it cooks down significantly. And some thyme, loads of thyme. So I'll just pick in the leaves. I like to take the leaves off now, it just saves us picking out the stalks later on. I'm not going to add any salt at this stage because the pancetta may be salty enough. We'll just have a taste later on. We will add some salt with the mushrooms though. So pepper, give this a bit of a jiggle. And we'll just let that melt and come together. Now let's talk Australian mushrooms. Aren't these a thing of beauty? I just love them because they are just full of flavour. They're meaty, robust, and they're really versatile. These ones are called Swiss brown mushrooms, and if you leave these to grow a little longer, they turn into these, which are actually called Portobello mushrooms. Same flavour, but a little bit more intense because they've had a bit more time to grow. So I'm going to use a mixture of both. You can chop these into small pieces, or if you want to speed up the whole process, you can pop it into a food processor like I'm going to do. So in with our little Swiss browns. I don't want to put them all in at once. We'll start with a small batch. I still want them to be roughly chopped. So just pulse it lightly and then we'll see if it needs a bit more. Very happy with that. So we'll take the first batch out and we'll pop them on. See that perfect consistency? Just makes it so much easier. And then our bigger mushrooms, cut them into quarters. And again, we're just going to roughly chop them in the food processor. Okay, so the leeks and pancetta have cooked down. They were really, really soft. Then I added the mushrooms and you saw there was quite a substantial amount of mushrooms. But after cooking this for about 6 to 8 minutes, it breaks down so much. And you don't want any liquid to be in there. See how dry it is? That's what we're after. So we get a lovely concentrated mushroom flavour. So to finish this off, a splash of sherry, some dry sherry. You could also use some white wine, along with some Dijon mustard. And to finish this off, a little bit of crème fraiche. You could also use sour cream for this recipe. So a generous spoonful straight in there. I'm going to turn the heat off, and the residual heat from that pan is just going to melt that lovely cream throughout the mushrooms. And that's our mixture done. Now we don't want to put this piping hot mixture into the pastry. So just let that sit there and cool down. You can also put it in the fridge to speed it up. Okay, the mushroom mixture has completely cooled down. Now onto the pastry. I've got some puff pastry here and I'm going to cut it into 2 sizes. So we'll start with a 14 centimetre bowl if you like. We'll pop that over the top and we just want to cut around it. So this is going to be the top of our little Pithivier pies. Now we need the base of the Pithivier, and the base has to be smaller than the top. So I've got a 12 centimetre ring here and we'll just cut a bit of that puff pastry too. So I'll do 1 to start with. And it's a really good idea to ensure that your pastry is quite chilled. The more chilled it is, the easier it is to handle. So we'll place the base down first. And here's a little trick to ensure that that pastry stays really crisp, particularly the base of it. Just add a little sprinkle of breadcrumbs, and I've just got some panko breadcrumbs. And then we're going to place our mushroom mixture on top. So grab a spoon and we'll put about 2 tablespoons of the mixture on top. And by putting those little breadcrumbs down there, because this is going to be quite juicy, it'll just suck up all the juice of the mushroom, ensuring that stays super, super flaky on the base. All right, now we need to cover this, and you can see why the top of the pastry needs to be larger, because it's got to go over that little pocket of mushroom. So now carefully with your fingers, just go around the pastry to ensure there's no air bubbles whatsoever. And that's our first little Pithivier. I like to get a little egg wash. I have broken an egg in here. I'm just using the egg yolk, a little splash of water, and that just ensures that it's a little bit runny to make it easier to brush on. Just going to lightly brush that over the pastry. And I'm going to continue making these. They then go into the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes, so it just firms up a little more before it goes into the oven. I'm going to make a little pattern on it, cut a little hole in the centre, and then they go into the oven. And I like to cook them at 200 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. Mushroom Pithiviers are out of the oven. I am so happy with the results. Do allow them to cool slightly, and look how golden they are, just right. So I'm serving this with some classic peas, just some peas that have been cooked in lots of butter and a little bit of stock. You can serve this with mashed potato, a little gravy if you like the real traditional way, or even just tomato sauce. So a little mound of our peas, and look, a little bit of butter, why not? Just around there, spread that out. And this one looks simply perfect. So we'll just place that on top, and that is a really elegant way of serving a Pithivier or a little mushroom pie. Now it's all about that mushroom filling. So let's slice into one to have a look. Listen to this pastry. So crunchy. And then inside, well, look at that gorgeous filling. We've got loads of mushrooms. I just have to have a taste of this. What a way to show off Aussie mushrooms. Add them with some pancetta and some leeks. Cook them down slowly in some flaky puff pastry. Absolutely perfect combination.